Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to the latest Archery GB CEO webinar. What I endeavour to do is answer some of your questions directly, which have been sent in, and thank you very much for sending in those questions. And then we'll talk about a little bit more generally about an update on Archery GB's performance and activity in 2017-18. So that basically, for those of you who didn't get to attend the AGM, it'll be some of the catch-up and some of the follow-up and the detail that was presented at that meeting to keep you all informed about what's going on. So, over to the questions, and I'm going to be ably assisted by, I've got rid of Jeremy Paxman, I've now got Kay Burley, so over to in the form of Sarah Booth, our Head of Marketing Communications. So over to you, Sarah, for the first questions.
Okay, thanks Neil. Our first question is from Paul Gregory, and it's about our ranking system. And his questions are, why are the rankings not live? Why have they sometimes been late? And why have longbow and barebow not been published yet this year?
Okay, well thanks for the question, Paul. Why are the rankings not live? Well, quite simply, we rely on our volunteers, on our tournament organisers to send in their results, and that there may be a delay from those individuals. We have to give them enough time to send them in to us. They have to be in the correct format, of course, and it allows some time for us to check them, put them in the right format if there's any amendments required, and import them into the system. We endeavour to update the rankings on a bi-weekly basis, so every other week. And that will allow us to include as many tournaments as we can in terms of the tournaments we've received up to that date. But sometimes, due to resource challenges, errors in the data, it can take a little bit longer to publish. We are working on it, we're trying to improve the system, and we're trying to evolve the way that the data is presented to us all the time. But we are absolutely reliant on the tournament organisers, and we're really grateful for them to be sending in their submissions. However, there's a new pilot scheme for 2018, and will, over the next few years, be developed to include more information and more detail. So we're not just sitting on our laurels with that. In 2019, we're going to be reviewing the longbow and barebow submissions and the junior rankings. We're going to be using the current Archery GB review as the starting point, and I'll talk more about the competition review later on in this webinar. But again, finally, I would like to say a genuine thank you to all the tournament organisers that provide us with that feed and that data input.
Okay.
Sarah,
thanks,
next
Neil.
question.
The second one is from Alistair Bailey, and he wants to know how we can encourage some of our smaller clubs to run record status shoots, considering the cost of registering through Archery GB, when the cost of registering through Archery Ireland is so much cheaper. He'd like to have a bit more of a flavour of what the breakdown of those costs are and why it's so expensive, and also why do they need to register on them so far in advance?
Okay, well I'm going to assume that Alistair Bailey is from Northern Ireland, endeavour to answer your question directly. Well, we pay a licence fee to World Archery for any tournament that we register with them, and we have to purchase the badges. But we do reinvest the money back into the administration, the postage, and by providing an attractive collection of badges. We of course need to cover the printing costs for certificates, and most vitally, and probably the most expensive, is the judge training. Without judges, we don't have a competition structure. As for Clout, for Target, etc., Field have a totally different pricing structure, and we know there are some anomalies. In comparison with Archery Ireland, it's a completely different national governing body, and they have completely different and probably slightly lower overhead fees than we do at Archery GB. In terms of applying for them in advance, it's 4 months for Target, Flight and Clout. It used to be 6, so we have brought that down a little bit, and it's 3 months for Field, which was a specific requirement of the Operations Committee for Field. So again, they need time to be approved. We also need to register with World Archery for that world record status, and we want to advertise it on the web and in the magazine. So we need a bit of advance warning for that to make sure we do the appropriate promotions to get as many people as we can to register for that particular shoot. It's only £25 for a UK record status shoot, and we do advertise that in the magazine and on the website. We've just carried out a competition review, and so we're trying to encourage much more participation with our shoots. So we've done that by consultation. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But overall, you know, we don't make a thumping great profit with these registration fees. In fact, our costs actually exceed the delivery of the service. So they are subsidised by Archery GB on a club by club and a tournament by tournament basis. Okay, I hope that answers your question, okay, Alistair.
Thanks, Neil. Christian Jernak, sorry if I've not pronounced that properly, he'd like to know why we invest so much into Lilleshall when the country really needs 2 more mini Lilleshalls, maybe one in the north and one in the south, which allow more people to have high performance coaching. Or why don't we move to a more central part of the country like Loughborough University, as some other NGBs have done?
Yeah, okay, great question. Thanks again, Christian. Well, we've developed a range of coaching workshops which are going to run around the country. So if your club's interested in hosting one, then please get in touch with us, get in touch with the coaching team. What I'm going to show you is hot off the presses. It will be live on the website before too long. But this is a club development and training programme. Now in here we detail all of the coaching programmes that we've got happening up and down the country, a range of venues, a range of times, and a huge range of subjects, from ANSIO training to tournament performance and strategies, recurve tuning and setup for archeries and coaches, to name but a few. So these are taking place all up and down the country, so that we're taking coaching into into the grassroots of the sport, because it doesn't always happen here at Lilleshall. We do want to encourage a wider distribution. We're also developing and have developed a series of new performance clubs, and the first one that we're launching is in Bedfordshire. It'll be launched this year. And that's following feedback and consultation from athletes, from coaches and from parents. This will ensure a coach-driven quality experience. We want to make sure that we put the right coaches in the right venues to deliver the right quality of experience. And that's our mantra, that's our objective. In terms of the location of Lilleshall, well, we are in a pretty central location here in the Midlands. It's a dedicated and exclusive facility here at Lilleshall, although we share the totality of the site with a number of other sports, which brings its own benefits. The archery facilities here are exclusively for us. Vitally, we've got on-site medical and science support, medical science support through EIS, the English Institute of Sport. So that's for physiotherapy and injury recovery. Importantly, and I think this is true for all of the sports sites, is it's not just having the facility to be able to shoot. We also, because we do camps and training seminars, we need accommodation, we need hotel facilities. Also, this venue at Lilleshall is actually owned by Sport England, so we get substantially lower than commercial rates to occupy and take our place up here at Lilleshall. We do also get benefits by being on the same site as other sports, like British Gymnastics are here, Battleback, Help for Heroes, and of course EIS. So we gain benefits from actually having a multi-sport site, as we get input from Sport England and from UK Sport. We probably get more attention being on a multi-sport site. As they come to visit other sports, they will also visit us too. So we get some probably a much more better service from our funding partners than if we were just on an exclusive site. So I hope that answers your question, Christian, but it is something that we consistently consider.
Thank you. The next question is along a similar line, and that's from Nick Coleman. Last year he suggested the possibility of using Lee Valley Sports Centre as a major southern training venue for Archery GB. And that's in relation to, obviously there's a high proportion of our archers that are in that region and in the southern region. He would like to know if it was taken seriously, and have we considered it as an option moving forward?
Yeah, we certainly recognise that there's a high proportion of archers in the south, and this is one of the reasons that we put our first performance club down in Bedfordshire. In terms of the Lee Valley Sports Centre, yes, we did consider it. We sent one of our board directors down there to take a look at the site, a guy who's got experience in civil engineering and sites such as that. It was considered by him and also our Director of Sport, David Tillotson. But for the same reasons that I alluded to earlier, it's much more than just having a shooting range that's important. It's also important to have the ancillary services, the hotel and accommodation services, in addition to the infrastructure that was provided at Lee Valley Sports Centre. So we did consider it and qualified it out, and we've discovered probably what we think is a better way. Through consultation, we've developed a better way of delivery of archery across the country, so not just in the south but also in the Midlands and in the north too. But the first centre is in the south, acknowledging the higher number of archers within the SCAS region. In addition, we don't really have sufficient resources to run many centres. It seems a shame we wouldn't be able to afford to duplicate administration services to run a separate centre. So we try and keep all those on a single site and then use the satellite sites most appropriately and cost effectively. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. And our last question tonight is around fees, and Martin Gascoigne would like to know, since 2013 the Archery GB fees for senior club members has risen twice as fast as inflation, so 17.9% as opposed to the 8.9%. And as a club chairman, he obviously tries to support us in all that we do to his club members, but sometimes he struggles to understand what additional improved services his senior club members might expect to see for those above inflation increases, and what would your message to them be?
Yeah, really good question. Well, firstly, fees are not linked to inflation. They're linked to more about what we want to deliver as a national governing body back to you, the archers, back to you, the members. So it's detailed in our strategic plan that we want to improve the quality of experience to our members. And unfortunately, that it doesn't come cheap. We've also been investing in new technology around our new membership system, which is our customer relationship management system. That's allowed us to streamline and improve our renewal process, and also the members' data. So members can now put into their profile what kind of bow they're using, which club of course they're going to, but it allows us to gather a much richer set of information, so we can then develop solutions which are much more tailored to the requirements of our membership. We've also been investing in staff training and improving customer and member experience. We've taken a new approach to membership service, and we've been developing a new system through staff training and through investment in technology, a better and much more efficient way of dealing with email inquiries. And we're now far ahead of our standard SLA, the service level agreement. So we're responding to emails mostly within the same day, whereas our service level agreement is within 48 hours. So it's really good to enable us to respond much more efficiently to our member inquiries. The new system also, in turn, because it's gathering more rich data, it in turn helps us to know how to provide better service to the membership. We've only had this system in place, the membership response system, for 9 days, and already we've had about 140 queries which have been responded to and answered in the same day or the next working day. So we've really seen membership service improvements given and delivered to grassroots members. We're supporting clubs to really engage with this new system. We're developing and we have developed and launched some handy guides. I'll just reach down and show you what I mean. So these guides are helping direct members online guide to renewing your membership, club members guide to renewals, and vitally the club secretary's guide to online renewals. So these handy guides are available on the website now, and we'd encourage you all to take a look and renew your membership online. Is that the end of the question, Sarah, or do we have
That's it, yeah.
a couple more? Right. Okay. Just one more note about inflation. We did increase our prices back in 2012 and 2013 by a chunky amount. And following feedback from the members, we were asked to put in place small incremental increases rather than no increase for several years and then a fairly substantial one. So for 2013, 14, 15 and 16 we increased fees just by £1 annually. 2017 and 18, yes, we did increase them by £2 annually, but as I say, that is to fund the additional and better service which will be delivered to members in the form of better communications, better renewal service, and to enable us to understand more about our archers' habits. We've done an awful lot of research, so we understand more about our archers' habits and where they're going for the future. Now, what I want to do now is talk about some of the outcome of some of the research which was delivered at the annual general meeting this year in April, I think it was. A lot of that information is contained in this book here, which is the Archery GB yearbook for 2017-18. So for some much more granular level of detail, please have a look at that online. It's available to you. That'll tell you how we've been performing and what our ambitions were and the methodology around what we were seeking to do.
It also tells you about your fees, so there's a real good breakdown on how on the fees and where they're spent in the yearbook. So
indeed, yeah. Full financial disclosure about and being transparent about how the fees are developed, the expenditure, where all of the money comes from and where all of the money goes. So a real clear, transparent disclosure about the fee structure that we've got. Moving on to a few of the slides that were presented at the AGM. This will help you get a better understanding of what we've been doing, and the member benefits to member as the output from what we've been doing. Clearly we developed a strategy some years ago, and we've been seeking to deliver the strategic outcomes against those objectives. So just take a look at the screen. I hope you can see all this, but if not, the slides are available for download on the website. So we wanted to build our understanding, so we put in place a fairly significant research project to help us appreciate how people come in and out of the sport. So we're looking at how we can retain more members, how we can attract more members. First analysis is, why on earth are members leaving? You know, it's much more cost effective to keep the members we've got and delight them rather than go out and attract new ones. Well, we could see that 50% of those leaving each year were fairly short stay members, so they'd only been around for 1 or 2 years. And the highest proportion in there were women and girls. So we've got a project now to encourage and focus on improving the retention of that cohort. We also have done research into, although 4% of our members are disabled, we have a hugely successful Paralympic programme, and we want to encourage more and more disabled people to take up our sport as it's so accessible to them. We also are focusing on the older age range, the 55-plus-year-olds, which I'm included in. It's around about 20% of the membership. Our sport I think caters reasonably well for this group. We want a much better understanding, again, to improve the quality of their experience. So building our understanding through research is what we're aiming to do. There are two main reasons why people leave our sport. Firstly, it's around coaching and coaching accessibility, coaching quality, and secondly, it's around lack of progression in terms of competition. So, we wanted to really focus on this and do a lot of in-depth research to understand what makes a great coaching experience. And the results of that were around coaches who create an empowering and learning climate, using informed technical framework, and continued, and this is really vital, continual professional development. So coaches are keen to learn and improve their skills going forward. So this is what we're aiming to do now. We put in a coaching strategy, again, which is available on the website, and the document's called A Visible, Vibrant Coaching Framework. And indeed, coaching has to be in a good place. So we're focusing on delivering quality coaching in the sort of place where coaching can really thrive. So, how are we doing it? We're making it easier to provide and receive coaching. Foster an improvement culture, as I mentioned, continuous professional development. We're improving communications and service because it's really important that coaches can signpost their students to the right kind of perhaps competitions that they want to go to, and signpost them to the right clubs. We're developing places where coaches can succeed, and I talked earlier about performance clubs, so people can hook up with coaches nearer to where they live. And we're building the success for this for sustainability. You know, we're stewards of this sport, and we need this sport to be able to be taking to the next level generation after generation. So this programme has to be sustainable. Next, we talked about the desire of our members to compete. People are leaving the sport because they're not making sufficient progress, and they actually would like to make that progress via competitions, our research told us. So we started a programme of consultation, not only about coaching but now about competition, and so we discussed this with key volunteers. We had an online survey which we launched at the National Indoors at the back end of last year, and we've run several workshops, but the first two were at the National Indoors. We launched a survey, an online survey, which so far, at its close elicited about 1,500 responses. So we've now got a load of data, a really rich piece of research, which shows us and tells us what competition structure, where people want them, how they want this competitions to be run. And this was no mean feat. You know, the road shows that we carried out in gathering all this data, you know, our staff travelled about 2,000 miles, creating 9 interactive workshops, and directly engaged with 160 members to inform this project. So it isn't just someone in an ivory tower deciding what the competition should look like. This is your competition structure delivered and advised and informed by you. The key themes that emerged were not necessarily surprising, but certainly we can see why they're going to add value. So, just as a précis, just as a summary, what did people want? What was the outcome of this research? Well, people wanted to be provided with competitions where families could compete together. Now, this is great because, you know, archery is a really social sport and sociable sport, and it's one unusually where families actually play together, shoot together, so it makes sense that we put on competitions that are appropriate for that activity and that kind of sentiment. We also were told that people want competitions for novices. You know, you're not going to learn to progress through the ranks unless you start competing against people of a similar capability. So yeah, we are going to be looking at developing tournaments and competitions for novices. a national scheme to help people shoot longer and longer distances. You know, we all start learning at around 5 metres, myself included, and people want to improve their shooting to move to 10, 20, 30 and up to the 70 and 90 metre ranges. So national scheme to help people make that progress is one of the things that we're going to be focusing on. Coaches also need to play a part in this, and one of the outcomes of the research was that coaches need to signpost their students to find the competitions which match to the individual's ability. So that'll be a really strong communications campaign where competition and coaching will work together to help people make the progress. And of course communications, I mentioned that the C word. We need to ensure that we have much better communications across the piece with all of our members, not only about competitions but about coaching, about the performance, the performance athletes, about the infrastructure here, and indeed this is one of these sessions. I'll endeavour to continue to do these webinars. We might change the structure. I'll be open to your suggestions. If you'd like to see more of them, less of them, what kind of content you might want to see, what kind of format you want to see. Honestly, we are really open to acknowledging your needs as members and delivering you a quality experience to help you maximise the enjoyment of the sport. Just finally, we'll move on to the commercial strategy. Again, what I wanted to do is ensure that our sport is sustainable but also delivers you member benefits. So we brought on board a new commercial manager, and he's negotiated a series of deals with these brands here, so Cycle Surgery, Runners Needs, Cotswold Outdoor, Snow and Rock, to focus on the kind of sporting ones, but also we've negotiated discounts with Volvo and Whirlpool. So you've got a white goods, you've got a car. We've also done a deal now with this clothing manufacturer supplier called Archery, who are going to be supplying all of our Archery GB team apparel. And we'll be looking at how we can help you get access to that kind of clothing as well. So in terms of member benefits, engage with these brands, and they're all on the website, and we'll be able to deliver you real solid savings, cash savings, as a consequence of you being a member of Archery GB. So finally, I've talked about the strategy, about where we're going, but what does success look like in terms of our strategic objectives? Well, number one, we need to make sure that we retain as many people in our sport as possible. So by reducing churn, by acknowledging that we're going to give a quality experience, better coaching and better competition structure. We want people to stick with us, we want people to progress, and that's exactly what our members are telling us. We need to create greater financial sustainability, less reliance on agency funding. You know, we get money from the government via Sport England and via UK Sport. That may not go on forever, so we need to create a much more financially sustainable organisation. So we're aiming to generate around £600,000 through across membership, coaching, competitions, commercial activity and business efficiencies. So those are our objectives for over the 4-year period. Number 3, quality. Quality of experience. One of the things that was identified in our membership survey was that customer satisfaction could be significantly improved. So I'm held accountable by the board to improve membership satisfaction, and that's exactly what we're doing by creating all these programs. On the performance side, you know, we want to encourage new, younger people to take up the sport and move up the ladder in terms of their progress and performance. So athlete conversion from pathway up to the podium is one of our targets. So we have very defined numbers that we want to get people from the pathway up to the podium. And clearly we want to make sure when we're participating at international tournaments that we win medals. And that thankfully has already started. At the back end of last year, Naomi Folkard and Patrick Houston won a bronze medal in the World Championship, the mixed team event. So, absolutely fantastic result. So we started on that pathway. But our aim is to have medal success at major international tournaments. So we're aiming for 1 medal at the Olympic Games in 2020 at Tokyo, 4 to 6 medals at the Paralympic Games, and at least 1 medal at the Compound and Field World Championships. So we have aspirations to ensure that Archery GB is on the map when it comes to international competitions. So, that's about all I've got to talk about. Thank you once again for listening. Thank you very much for feeding back your questions, and I look forward to seeing you and talking to you next time, and I wish you a great summer and happy shooting. Thank you very much.